And it reads, and they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whether thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught by death depart thee me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left, speaking unto her. You may be seated. Amen. Amen. And in accordance with our theme, women uniting in strength and women uniting through faith. And if you need a subtopic this morning, uniting and coming together for kingdom building. Amen. Sisters uniting and coming together for kingdom building. And this message is not only for the sisters, amen, it's for the brethren also, amen, because it takes all of us to make a difference in this world that we live in today, amen. Looking at the setting in this text, we have three women, Naomi, Ruth, and Oprah. These three women had suffered a great tragedy and loss and were broken and confused about their situation, amen. But God, somebody in here today may be broken, have lost a loved one, and may be going through something, amen, like these women were. But God, don't you know that in our hardest times and in our tests and in our trials, that's when God reaches way down and helps us out in our situation, amen. In spite of their loss and their situation, these two women united because Oprah, she went back.
Yes, Lord.
Amen. But you know what? Just because she went back, and I like to kind of expound on this just a little bit. Just because she went back, amen, it does not mean that what was instilled within her while she was with Naomi, that she did not take it back to her people. Amen. 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 In spite of their loss and their situation, these two women united and moved on and through their faith in God, they were shown favor in spite of their situation. Amen. Don't you know that when you're going through trials and tribulation, God will give you favor? Amen. And I tell people all the time, let me tell you something. Favor it ain't fair. Amen. So don't get mad with somebody else. Amen. You may see the glory, amen, but you don't know the story. You don't know what somebody's been through, amen, when the favor of God is on their lives. Amen. These two women united. They bonded together for kingdom building because we all know that Ruth is the great-grandmother of King David and an ancestor to Jesus the Christ. Amen. And today, briefly, we will look at three reasons why it is time for us, the people of God, to unite in strength and in faith and stand firm together for kingdom building. Number one, Christ is getting ready to come back. Amen. And when he comes back, he will be looking for a church, one without a spot or a blemish. Amen. And it is time now for the churches and those of us who make up the church to come together and unite. It is time now for us to put aside our differences, our backgrounds, our opinions, our social status, even our color of skin, amen, and come together. Why? Because if Christ would come and split the sky right now, we would all be left behind. Amen. And you say, well, why, preacher? Because we ain't together. Amen. And don't you know Sunday is the most segregated day? Amen. And don't you know people see interracial couples. And they're like, ooh. Everybody needs to stay with their own kind. But I'm going to tell you something. That's God telling people that I am one God, one Father, one Lord, one baptism. Amen. So it's time now for the people of God to get together and get on one accord. Amen. Because we're going to be left behind. Amen. It is time for us to put our own selfish agendas aside and be about our Father's business. Naomi and Ruth were not concerned about who had what, who did what she looked like, whether she was big or whether she was not small, whether she had straight hair, whether she had nappy hair. They wasn't worried about that. Amen. They got together and they moved on because they saw that they were in trouble. Amen. And that's what we, the church, have got to do. We've got to set aside our agendas, because contrary to what you may believe, nothing is about you. I know it's tight, but it's right. Ain't nothing about you and I. Because guess what? All of us, even our best, on our best days, in God's sight, ain't nothing but a bunch of filthy rags. So it's time now to set aside how you feel. Don't nobody care about how you feel. It ain't about you. Y'all know some of us will get up and come to church on Sunday morning and know we mad and then raise hell all night long. And then we'll come in church and we'll turn our nose up and we'll smash down the aisle looking good on the outside. And I know y'all told us about I told y'all about this last year, but still ugly on the inside. It ain't about you. Naomi and Ruth were not concerned about who had this and who had that. Ruth and Naomi bonded together and united in strength and in faith and moved on, and God blessed them and showed them favor and placed them in the field of Boaz. Now won't he do it? When you're going through a hard time, when you're going through trials and tribulations in your life, won't God do it? Y'all know last year when I told you, I didn't get to bring my husband, amen. And I'm not ashamed to tell you, he's a double amputee. And he couldn't walk. He had a sore on his leg. Boy, God. He got up one day last week, he said, baby, do we know where the church is? I said, yeah, I know where it's at. We just going to get in the car and we're going to find it. We're going to get there on time, amen. And he's here today, amen. And you know, a lot of people will look at me and they'll say, well, how do you do it? I don't understand. You have to take care of your husband, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. I do it by the grace of God, amen. And it ain't got nothing to do with me, amen. God will show you favor. Yes, it will. And it ain't fair. And you know, don't get mad with me. I tell people, don't hate the player. Hate the game. But see, you see the story. But you see the glory, but you don't know the story. You don't know the hell that I got to get up and go through, amen, before I get out and get moving, amen. But it's time, church, it's time for us to come together. And when we do and get on one accord, the Lord will bless and shower down blessings and show us favor. And I'm going to tell you something. And I tell for a long time, God don't bless no mess. You can't come to God haphazard. You can't come to God cockeyed. You can't come to God any kind of way. You got to come straight, amen. You can't be hot. You got to either be hot or you got to be either cold. And then because if you lukewarm, he going to spew you out of his mouth. And that ain't what I said, that's what the word said. We got to get together. Yes, Lord. Because number one, if he split the sky right now, a lot of us going to be left behind. You know, one writer, I was reading the book, he said that a Greyhound bus can load up on a trip to hell. And the main place that they can start loading up is the church. So it's time now for us to get together. Number two, it's time for us to unite in strength and in faith and not waver for our communities, our children, our children's children, and for each other. Why? Because Satan is running rampant, y'all. And it's time for us to join together and fight the good fight of faith against him. And then we've got to get together and fight for our churches, fight for our children, fight for our neighbors, fight for everything that's going on. But I'm going to tell you something that I get so angry about. We'll march.
Talk to us.
After the casket is laying right there.
Talk to us, sister.
And they'll put us on the news. And we'll talk about what we're going to do. But what did you do before it got to that point? That's just a little something for you to think about. What did you do? You see those two little boys right there? You see those two little boys? You know, they said that nobody couldn't do nothing with them. Till they came in our house. All it takes is a little prayer, a lot of discipline, a lot of love. And we don't know how these
Amen.
children will
Amen.
But it's our
Say it.
job.
Our job. Amen.
Well, I don't want to do this. I don't have time to deal with no bad kids. Well, guess what? Somebody has to deal with you.
Say it. Say it. Say it now.
And
Amen.
to tell the truth, some of us sitting here warm in the chairs right now still ain't good. Amen? It's time. We've got to get together. And fight for our churches, our children, and the world. It's time for all true believers of God to take a stand and stand up, stand firm, so we can shut down the gates of hell. Amen. And we can do this, church, by uniting in strength and standing together, standing firm and falling on our knees and fighting the good fight of faith. Then we can shut down the gates of hell. When we look at society today, everybody is doing any and everything. Wrong is called right, and right is called wrong. And guess what? And then it's falling on over into the church. Homosexuality is a norm, which is wrong. And you know, folk get mad with me because I'm going to tell you something. You love the sinner, but you hate the sin. And I don't know why some churches want to stand and tell our young people that in your homosexuality state, that if you close your eyes today, you're going to go to heaven. But I stand flat-footed and declare and decree to you, if the Lord called you, and you are homosexual, you will open up your eyes in hell, amen, because everything in heaven is pure and holy, amen, and God does not allow anything that's not clean and not pure in heaven. So what we need to do as a church is fall on our knees and pray for our young people. And you know what? I can't tell y'all nothing, because guess what? My son is one, amen. And all I can do is just stand in the gap and pray.